typical day for me with the eating disorder and the anorexia phase was getting up at least an hour before my family would get up, and I would pour milk in a bowl and put some pieces of cereal in there in a spoon, and I would set that by the sink so that they would no longer ask me, Rachel, did you eat? I got so tired of that question. Rachel, did you eat? What did you eat? Did you keep it all down? It just was like, I wanted them off my back so bad because, I already felt like I was out of control in my family and I didn't have a say in my own life. And now they're trying to manage the disorder, which was the only thing that I could control. And so there was just like this immense anger of like, leave me alone.
At some point, I would go out to the gas station and hide food, throw up in the shower, to hide it. I'd throw up in my room in buckets and hide it. And it got to the point where I was probably binge and purging between 6 and 10 times a day.
Usually I'd get up in the morning and eat breakfast, and that was typically the only meal I'd eat for the day. Mornings were normal. I would just eat with my family, and at school my mom would usually have us pack our own lunches, and we had certain things that we were allowed to have during the day, and there was always times when I would either grab an extra one without her knowing or do that the night before and put it in my bag just so, because I figured that it wouldn't matter. But it was a lot of sneaking around.
Every morning I'd wake up and weigh myself, and I feel like the number on the scale was basically what determined how my entire day went.
I wanted to always make sure that I had enough. Like, I wasn't going to have enough or I was going to run out, and so I would, steal extra from the table or run in the cupboard and hide it so that my mom wouldn't see me. Nobody could see me. It was about survival for me. It was like, I've got to hurry up and run this over here and hide it so that I can have it later. That was my mentality at the age of 4, and whatever I could manipulate out of anybody for candy, I would do that and hide that also. I always felt like there was I didn't feel like I had anything. I felt like, I felt empty. I couldn't find anything to fill the hole that they had made. They crushed my spirit. There was nothing left of me, and food was of comfort. And so if I had a couple Snickers bars later and, I would get up in the middle of the night and eat them, I'd even go to bed with them. I actually slept with the candy next to me. It was comforting.
At 4?
At 4. I slept with it right next to my head because nobody was there to talk to, and everything that was going on already at the age of 4 was traumatizing. And food made me feel better.
What, during the portion of the bulimia, what were some examples of the eating disorder's demands? Like, what would it yell at you?
Well, at the time, I believed it was all about the food, and it wouldn't allow me to stop eating when I was full. It wouldn't allow me to keep any food in my system at all.
It told me that I was fat. It told me that I was ugly, that I screwed up everything, that I was a failure.
They were endless. And this is the part where my heart bleeds for people. I think this is what drives me so hard to help people, is because the pain of those demands, it's like having the worst boss you've ever had scream at you all day long. Constant things, you're fat, you're disgusting, you can't eat that, what did you do that for?
Still today I struggle with that. There's plenty of lies. You can't eat this type of food because you don't deserve it. You can't, I can only eat the chicken and the salad because there's no fat in it, because if I get fat then I don't feel good. If I gain a pound then I'm out of control. When you're in the eating disorder, you're comfortable, you're like, yep, I got this going on. You don't.
And do you mind sharing about what your worst day with the eating disorder was like? One of your worst days that kind of stand out in your mind.
I was visiting a friend, and I had a laxative abuse problem, and also diet pills were part of this for me. And we were out and about with the kids. She had a couple kids, and we were out and about, and like my stomach turned at the wrong time in public, and I went to the bathroom on myself. And I think that I realized at that point that, I mean, the humiliation beyond the pain of what you're going through, that was one of the worst days, and that was one of the last days before I ended up going into treatment.
Oh, worst day. There was a time in the past couple years where I've had a few rough days, and I would say one of my worst days was where I binge and purged several times in that day, and I think I might have had like stuff coming out of my nose or threw up blood or something. I can't remember, but that was a very scary day for me.
Again, I would get up in the morning, or these were a couple of my worst days. It would be a day that I'd get sent off to my grandpa's and not want to go. And I'd come back and I would just eat box after box or bag, and it would just be a continual purge, eat something, purge. On top of that, I would take a whole box of X-Lax. So, because a lot of times when I would purge, I would feel like I didn't do good enough. It got to that point to where it's like, this isn't enough, I need more. And so then I would do the laxatives, and then I would go and exercise. I mean, it was never enough. And that's, what I see today. It was like, so it would be the binge, the purge, the laxatives. I would grab no-dose so that my heart would go faster, thinking that my metabolism would speed up. It was just all these disgusting lies. But yeah, that would be a terrible day. 30, 40 times of the purging, and then by the end of the day I would take a whole box of laxatives along with a whole box of no-dose. And by the end of the night I would just shake and be sweating and cold. And
when my parents were feeling extremely helpless as far as how to help me, I know now that's all they wanted to do was to save their little girl, and they didn't know what else to do, so they were trying to force me to eat. To the parents out there, please don't do that. But that was their way of trying to help. And so I sat down, and there was a bowl of bananas and custard, and my dad said, you either eat that bowl of bananas and custard or you will no longer get to go to karate. And I panicked. Because I was thinking, well, that's where that's where I can exercise extra without them knowing. I would tell them the class is longer and I would go running. Now, in addition to that, I loved karate. It was something that actually gave me a sense of worth and esteem. So I was panicking inside, but to show the depths of the disorder, the next phrase that just whipped right in there is, you will not win. That's how I saw that, is I saw this as a battle.
When I noticed it was when she wanted to begin to make her own meals. Her mother would make a meal for the family, and then she would want to make her own meals, her own special meals.
I did notice also exercise was also combined in the whole process of it all. The exercise was excessive.